Okay, it says we're live now. So, welcome, welcome to our live stream. I won't start like with official stuff or official questions and stuff until we'll just wait it like maybe 5 minutes or so. But as you can tell, there's someone else that's here. And maybe if I wave my mouse, you can maybe see his name. I'm not sure. But yeah, Rain is here with us today,
Hi,
which is
welcome.
great. Yay.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Um, someone posted, "Oh, Rain." um, and I guess we can do while we're waiting, we'll do some introductions. Maybe there are some new people in the this that are watching today, and yeah, so we can let's start with Mulp.
Okay, introduction is that. Okay, my name is Mickey, or Mob in game. I'm the one of the two developers of Prosperous Universe, and I've been in the company since we started Prosperous Universe, which was like 5 years ago, when Martin convinced me to start a new project with him. At the time, I was only a freelancer at Simulogix, and that quickly turned into a full-time employment.
Great. Okay, let's do Fabian.
Yeah, I'm Fabian. I joined the company a little bit more than a year ago, specifically to work on Prosperous Universe as a game systems designer. And yeah, it's a really exciting project, and I think something where you can see that the world kind of needs it because it's not there anywhere else. And yeah, I'm excited to see where we're going in the future.
Awesome. Okay, I'm Nick. You probably have seen my name in Discord and on the forums and stuff. I'm the marketing and PR manager here at Simulogix. I joined in 2020. I'm not German, but I do live in Germany. So yeah, it's been really fun. I've really loved my time here, and I'm just excited to see where the game takes us next. And I also invited Rain here, as you can see, and I'll let him introduce himself now.
Hello, my name is Paul. I go by the name of Rain, and I'm not a member of the development team. I'm instead one of their, if not, maybe their biggest fan. So they have invited me to partake in this, and that makes me very happy. So thank you for letting me come in.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. We've been going for how long? I forgot where the little timer is. Oh, 3 minutes. We've been going for 3 minutes. So I think that's a good enough time for introductions. I'm gonna ask Rain a little bit more about himself. So Rain, can you just tell us like a little bit like how you got into Prosperous Universe? How did you find it, and what made you stay?
Sure. So I've been searching some keywords for years. Economic simulator, games like games with financials, economic this, economic that. And one day in 2019, I think it was November, it was about November of 2019, so about 18 months ago, a new thing showed up. It's called Prosperous Universe. So I clicked on it and I was like, whoa, what is this? It turned out that there had been some SEO optimizations done by Magino, who was with the team before. And I just started playing and I said, oh, this looks fun. This is kind of what I'm looking for. And through that, Google search became like my first endeavor. And I thought, oh, this is so cool. I got to stream it. So I streamed it on Twitch and a whole bunch of people watched me. And then we had this big barrage of people come in and all joined on, was it Montum? I think it was Montum. Yeah, it was Montum. And so we started a little group there and it was a lot of fun. And ever since then, I've been playing, interacting with everyone and being a part of the community.
Awesome.
Cool.
Good story.
So how big is your Twitch audience, and how did they like the game? Is it a few of them converted, so to speak?
It's about maybe 100 to 200 viewers. It's pretty small. It's not like a Admiral Guru or a Ninja. It's a small base. And about, I would say 30 people at least tried the game, right? So it's a good amount of people who tried it. And I think maybe 10 continued on and played it, even to this day. Some of them going as far as being some of the biggest players in the game, and some of them, still very casual, just having their one base.
Yeah.
So you said you were like doing a lot of searches and like looking at there maybe similar games or things related to like economic simulators. What did you find was different about Prosperous Universe, and like what made you pick Prosperous Universe to like really be an avid player as opposed to some of the others?
The biggest thing about Prosperous Universe to me is that everything that is created is done so by things that are created by players. So there's no real magic that happens. If you want to build something, you have to make it, and then if you want to make it, you got to interact with other players to buy it. And because of that, it had this totally new dynamic or different dynamic than every other game. Like every other game has this sort of level up your castle by 1 level for X gold, and then level up your gold mine for X wood. But this game had none of that. It was just a completely different dynamic that was much more interesting.
Great. Awesome to hear. Okay, I think we're good to like kind of start up the stream questions and stuff. For our viewers, if you have something that you want to ask or you have a comment to something someone says on the stream, just go ahead and type it and I'll try to get to your question. But we're trying to do a little bit of a different format where we just have like more of a discussion about some of the topics that either Rain or some other players are interested in. And yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more like free roaming, I guess. Okay, so Rain.
Can I kick us off?
Yes, please do.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. I've noticed that there's a lot of new players coming in. Somebody even posted a screenshot today of the number of players reaching record high. Those players are going through the new player experience, and I know that there's some work going on with the new player experience right now, and there's even some thoughts about what might come in the future. Could you maybe talk about what's going on now and what might come in the near future?
Yeah, sure. So until the release of early access, we've been pretty busy with features, and early access kind of marks is a very important milestone for us. We are not using it in a way like other games are using it mainly as a marketing push, but rather because we think the game has matured enough that we can say we can open it a bit to a wider audience and, for example, start with more aggressive or more intensive marketing, for example. But of course, the retention rate is extremely important. Now that we have some marketing funds from the grant we want to make sure that it's well spent. And for that, of course, new players need to stay in the game. And so the current plan is to improve the new player experience over the course of the coming weeks and months. And we have a couple of things that we want to improve. First of all is the UI tutorials, or the UI tutorial, singular first, for now at least. And you might have seen some screenshots on the devlog 2 weeks ago or so. And what it is basically, it's like a tutorial or a product tour. And when you set up your company and did the company registration step, then you're usually presented with Apex and the default layout of the first screen. And what we want to do is like go through all elements that the players see at this point, block out all the rest of the elements, focus on one, explain what it does, even let the player click on something, enter a command, so that they get to know how the interface works, so they actually know it's flexible and it can be manipulated to your own how you want to have it. And that's the first thing, and I'm actually working on that, kind of halfway through that. And that helps or at least we hope, with players coming in, going into global chat and asking, what's this? Like, what's this all about? This is a question I've seen so many times. Players see our marketing material, the videos, and the promo graphics done by Mac, and they kind of maybe, I don't know, expect a little bit of a different game, and then they're thrown into Apex. And we hope to improve that with that. And we want to have gameplay tutorials, and maybe Fabian can talk a bit about them.
Yeah, sure. So we're kind of like thinking of introducing the players in layers to the game, more or less. So the UI tutorial is like the first thing it's like the bare minimum you need to even use the game, basically, because like going into chat and asking, hey, how does this work, is already a barrier for many people. And so we want to not like hold their hand throughout the whole game and not do the whole, hey, spend 10 wood to upgrade a building, but we want to give them an in-game introduction. And so the UI tutorial is the first step. And with that, you can already go and explore the game on your own, basically. But what we then want to do is explain the gameplay in a more or less hint-based fashion. So we're not going to tell you absolutely need to click this now or you can't do anything else. We don't want to funnel players so strictly, but we'll kind of nudge new players along the correct path or along a path that they can get going. So we'll tell them, hey, this is how you set up your base, and when they build their base, then they'll get another hint, like maybe you want to look at your buildings and get stuff going. So yeah, for the initial parts of the game, we'll have like this hint-based chain of things, and then it eventually ends in some kind of open-ended manner where we tell players, hey, you can explore this and maybe take a look at the handbook because it has everything. And yeah, at that point, they're hopefully interested enough to look into the other things on their own and maybe also interact with other players. And yeah, that's the second part of what we want to do. And the third part is also kind of overhauling the whole company creation screen, which is kind of not super inviting currently. And if you don't know the game, it's like you don't know what 80% of the stuff even means. And yeah, we kind of want to maybe give it a friendlier look overall and less information for new players, especially. Maybe we'll have something like an expert mode where you can like tick a box that you know the game and you want all the options, but we don't want to flood new players with decisions they don't understand, and we don't want them to have the ability to even make huge mistakes in this step. We just want to get them into the game like with as few obstacles as possible and then get them into the new tutorial stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I first started a long time ago, I looked at those creation screens and I thought, this is so cool. There's so much stuff I don't understand. And subsequently, I did what seems to be the most common thing is I made irreversible mistakes and asked, how do I start over? And that's not bad, right? There's a lot of games out there where you start and you do your tutorial and then you start over, and it's still a good experience. So it sounds like some of those tutorials will be a good thing to help the player base understand things before they just give up, so to speak, from confusion.
Oh, I've played lots of roguelikes in the past, and one saying is there with permanent death, or it's like losing is fun. So we want to incorporate that in the game. That's why there's no setting that says start over. It's like in the game. It's like liquidating the company, start over. It's not a bad thing, especially in the beginning. Part of the experience, so to speak. But it needs to be communicated, of course.
Yeah. I also have like a lot of, I guess, I don't know if experience is the right word, but at least a lot of thoughts concerning new players, since it's basically what my job is, or a big component of my job. So I've been talking about like an episode of Transmission Zero a lot in the devlogs, but basically what this is like a video that I'm working with Julian, who was here before me, to sort of put in some type of like how to get into Prune, or like how can what can you achieve in this game, like what realistically can a new player do at the start to get invested, to be excited, give them sort of ideas, which we didn't do that before because we really wanted Prosperous Universe to be a game where you decide your own future, your fate, and there's no one holding your hand, there's no one telling you what to do, you just sort of figure it out, which I think can still be accomplished. I think we're not really trying to take that experience away from anyone. But we do want to, because when I first entered the game, I'm really not that kind of type of player. I kind of need to be told what to do, and then from there, after I kind of get what the game is about, I can sort of, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing and figure some cool things out. But I sort of need that like hand holding, at least at the beginning, to just really get invested. So I'm working with that sort of new YouTube video or new tutorial with Julian, and I've also put some more stuff on the about page on the website that kind of gives new players some just like hints and tips. So if you go to the new website and click about, there's like a new player tips on there. So yeah, that's definitely something that's constantly in the back of my mind, like how can I make it a little bit more clear, not quite as opaque, because I do get that feedback from YouTubers. I mean, you've seen that we've gotten some pretty cool YouTubers talking about the game, and that is sometimes I've even gotten some that are bigger than the ones that we've already had videos for, but I do get some feedback of like, this game is a little bit too opaque for my audience. I need, maybe when the game's further along in development, I'll do a video about it, but right now it's just a little too hard, I guess, to get into at the beginning. But I've also had lots and lots of compliments from streamers saying that, like, yeah, this game is great. It's doing something that I haven't seen before. That they're hesitant to like put it out there for their audience because it doesn't have all these fancy graphics and stuff. But I think I'm going on a tangent here. But I mean, I consider myself to be like probably the most like mainstream gamer of the team. Like, I mean, I play like stuff like Final Fantasy and stuff. And if I can get into this game, I think anyone can get into this game. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the things we're planning for the next weeks and month, and in the near future, we want to have a look at the maps again, because the maps are really the only graphical and really strong interactive element of the game, and of course they are one of the things that you see first when creating a new company. And really, this comes from we wanted to make the maps more interactive and show more data for ages now, but never had the time. But now that we see that, for example, Fio and Saganaki provide so much information with an external tool, and there's all kinds of map projects going on, it just makes sense to incorporate more of the information we already have and show them on maps. For example, it's hard to explain to a new player that doesn't come to Discord or doesn't start asking questions in global how to look for a resource. And right now it's just go through all planets, click until you find them. And that's kind of the thing you tend to forget if you're working on this for years and years. You don't really are in the position of a new player asking, where do I find the next planet, excuse me, that has aluminium or a limestone or whatnot. And so we want to provide means for the players to actually find stuff. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this because working with the 3D graphics has been fun, and we can do better.
I don't know.
I was wondering.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I see some comments about Martin in the chat. I don't know if we said anything about him not being here, but he's not here. He had an unexpected project, so that's the reason. In case you're wondering, like nothing serious, just some like construction and decoration and painting and stuff. So anyway.
I was wondering on the new player experience topic, if anyone had any thoughts on how the changes to the exchanges may have had an effect on new players. The change being that we no longer have exchanges on a planet. Has that changed the new player experience, you think?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so. I mean, there have been countless discussions right before the release of Early Access. But I think it's perfectly doable. Of course, it's one extra step players have to take care, and this step will obviously be part of the gameplay tutorial to tell them, okay, if you want more, you have to fly to the next exchange. But we have a system that where we can measure certain actions of players. For example, when did they first, as a statistic, when did they build a base? Did they perform an inventory transfer? Did they perform a market order and stuff like that? And we haven't seen any significant drop in there, so that's good news.
I mean, there's also a kind of a pro side to this. Like before, you could kind of get away without interacting with the map or the universe at all. Like you could just sit on your planet, make stuff and sell it. And as Michi just mentioned, we want to kind of put the map more front and center, and we want people to interact with it. So of course reworking it will help with people wanting to interact with it, but I think in that regard, it's kind of a good thing that you have this extra step of having to fly somewhere and selling your stuff there. It's kind of introduces the whole map and positioning and movement aspect more naturally into the game.
Cool. I really like the information that you're providing about the new players, and I also really like that you have metrics around what those players did and how far they got, and that you can actually measure how far they got and compare it. So that's really cool. That's good to know. I hope that the metrics keep going up and that things get better and better.
Thanks.
Maybe this is a good segue for the universe, since we're talking about the map and we're talking about the new player experience. We have a brand new universe right now, and it's pretty exciting, right? I think a lot of people are really hyped for it. Yeah. I'd love for us to talk about it now, but I'm just curious if there's more in store for us in the future. Have you guys done any thinking about, other plans that you might have for this universe? Maybe additions or changes, or maybe even something even further down on the horizon for the map layout or components on the map or features within the universe?
That's a good question. I want to say asteroid fields here, but as much as I would like to see that feature in the near future, it's far out there. So there's 2 points really. One is we're not too fond with the layout of the map in hex sectors, because that's so cliche. And Martin has been pitching the idea of trying another layout of the map, but obviously that's not going to happen with the current universe, because that would need a proper reset. That's it. And besides that, the general direction we want to go in the next time is infrastructure. And we're not talking about planetary infrastructure here, but rather in a general meaning. So where do I start? So most of the infrastructure right now in the game is a planetary infrastructure, and its upkeep is supposed to be, and the whole way how it's built is expected to be managed by the players of that planet. And over the course of the last test universe, it turns out that really the governor is the responsible person for managing the upkeep and managing the infrastructure. And the whole, what has been called by the players sometimes social capitalism isn't really turning out. And the roots of this concept predates Fabian, and with that, our game design department. So that was the decisions for that have been made by Martin back in the days, like a couple of years ago, and it kind of seems a bit like it doesn't really fit into this capitalistic utopia we're having with PrUn Universe. So we want to go a new direction, and for example, take a Stargate. Okay, we don't want to build Stargates just as an infrastructure project. I'm mentioning that because it had been mentioned in the chat. So imagine we are having Stargates. The question is, who is going to build them and who is going to operate them, and who sets the rules? And Martin and Fabian and I have been talking about this, and the gist of it is that we want to change how these infrastructure projects work. So an individual company or corporation could set them up and operate them, but they could also be set up by a government. And to make it, to tie the things together, we want to have some new form of contract that's like a upkeep contract. So, for example, a company could run Stargate for a certain amount of time and getting some monetary compensation for that. But the company doesn't really, it just operates it. The local government really determines what are the fees for using the Stargate, who can fly through, and stuff like that. So we're splitting like the responsibilities here, and it's more of a way than people would or players would expect, because it's more natural. It's like in the real world. So the planetary projects will remain for a long time, I guess, because we have built them, they're in there, and moving or migrating them away to a new system is kind of hard. But we are trying our best. So this is more of the direction we want to go in the near future, or mid-future, so to speak.
That sounds very exciting. So I'm already devising plans in my head to work with a bunch of people to create a Stargate that bridges the entire universe, creates this ultra amazing trade system, and then attacks it for profit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Of course, that's no easy task. It's a lot of work, but we'll start slow. Like we talked about this, and we have found like a very small example infrastructure project that we could do. And of course, this also means that we have to update how politics works in the game, because governor alone won't do it. Yeah. Fabian, do you want to talk about politics or what might be coming?
Yeah, I mean, this goes even further in terms of politics, like, because some projects might not be planetary projects. That means we might not just have planetary politics, but also system-wide politics,
right,
or go even beyond that and take it to the whole universe map layer. And we've also been talking about how maybe we don't just want to have one single governor managing 500 players on a planet, and maybe we introduce a little parliament system where we have like maybe one governor still, but a couple of people who help or vote with him together on the decisions to be made. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, we need some kind of government context that these people can share among each other, and to help them manage all the things that they need to manage. It's definitely, it's part of the whole idea of going into that direction, and I think we need to kind of expand on that stuff, because currently it's in there, but it's pretty minimalistic, and some stuff already happens in that direction, but it happens outside the game and private chats and stuff. But we want to kind of formalize it a bit more and make it more an obvious part of the game that everyone in the game can interact with without having to go out of their way and use external stuff.
And this really also solves the problem of players having to form a one-person corporation just to be governor, and so they can receive the taxes and don't have to split it with several other corporation members. So the local government will be its own entity, and the player who's governor or one of the GMs, what's it called? PM? Member of Parliament? MP? Sorry, MP. They are just acting or just using this government entity, and so the government, of course, will have its own accounting in that sense. And it's going to be interesting. Of course, there will be some kind of way how they can actually, how the government can perform actions, for example. Like they have to, like, in a way, especially if there's one then more person, there have to be votes and stuff like that. So, yeah. But this is just a general direction we're going into. Nothing is set in stone yet. But I think since you wanted to know what's next, what lies in the future, that's to come.
That sounds great. That sounds like a really great way to get people organized together to build something together and work together, rather than maybe run a little more solo, which some people are tending to do right now.
And one side effect of this is also that that we are focusing on political and economic conflict, not really on conflict in the sense of war, for example. Back in the days, we had a concept that players could build military and fight over certain infrastructure, but that has been pushed very far, if we're even doing it, because right now the game feels very good without a military component. And it would be interesting to see if we ask the players how they feel about it. But right now, I don't think we don't need any military conflict mechanic in the game.
I know that one of the conflicts in the game that have been talked about in the past, and it's been a topic of a lot of conversation, was the idea of, I guess people are calling it piracy, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the future of what might lie in for us for piracy? I know that currently we still have contracts, and contracts are not quite guaranteed, so there's always the potential for failure. But what other types of piracy or lack of assurance could we expect?
I mean, piracy is in the game because we wanted to have serious outcomes of breaching a contract. For example, if you don't deliver goods and break the contract, something has to happen with the goods, and we simply cannot beam them back to the owner. That wouldn't feel right. So we decided, okay, stealing packages is a thing in Prosperous Universe, but we didn't think that someone could do it as their main job, and that's not intended. It's possible right now, and players have made many good suggestions how to remedy that or solve that problem. And one has been to introduce a collateral system. And Fabian and Martin and I talked about this the other day, and we don't really like it because the collateral just for example, for a shipment, a ship full of plastic is so huge, or even a ship of water is so huge that a new player never could afford the collateral. And we think the new players should be part of the whole shipping business, because that's also part of the new player experience. We have to tell them that they can accept shipping contracts and make profit while growing the first base. It's a serious part of the income if they want to. And so a collateral system might work later on when we have contracts between players directly, like private contracts. Then that might make sense. But we came up with another idea, but it's not set in stone yet. And that is, how did we call it? There's an English word and the German word. The German word is very long, and putting it in the translator came up with, what was it? Penalty for breaching contract. Like, that's like a standing term in the German language. In English, it's penalty for breaking contract. And what it does is you set up a penalty when you close the contract. So if one party doesn't, or if one party breaches the contract, they have to pay the penalty. And in this case, in our case, the penalty would be recognized, of course, by the Apex system, and it would show up in the books as a liability, instantly having an impact on the rating of the company. And we could build it in a way that, for example, players could pay the penalty over a certain amount of time, so it will cut into their profits. Or we could decide for a system that will pay the penalty whenever the cash is there. So a pirate might steal, like, it's still possible to steal, like actively steal a shipment, but it comes with a price attached. And that price is the rating, of course, through the liability in the books, and the penalty that has to be paid, even auto-paid, maybe. And we think that's a more elegant solution because players don't really, new players don't really need to care about that, because if they can make the shipment, they don't have to worry about the penalty. And if you're thinking this through, then the penalty could be huge, or if you accumulate them, they could be huge. So we're going into a direction where we say in one time, or in the far future, we might even have to liquidate the companies. Like, not in a colleague, that's the player, which the player does on an automatic way. But I mean, if someone collects debt and penalty, at some point, they have to declare bankruptcy. So that might maybe solve the piracy issue. At least the piracy issue where it's seen as a profession.
And if you go that far, then you can start implementing loans.
Yeah.
I would love for the ability to give out a loan to another player. This is just future state of mind. And if they don't repay it, I can just get their base. Well, you didn't repay the loan, so we're going to liquidate one base and give it to the other player.
Yeah, totally possible.
Just imagine the Discord chats.
No.
What about, I know piracy is one form of conflict, but what about conflict in other ways? There was the Planetary Administration Center bomb, so to speak, also known as CUOP, the co-op. Do you guys want to pursue the different kind of ways for players to interact with each other in a form of like political economic conflict? Is that something that you're thinking about and maybe trying to actively pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of one natural outcome of what we talked about with expanding on the politics system and like having this government there be responsible for the rules, and then the company sets up some kind of infrastructure that's actively placed on the map and has some effect on multiple players in that area, and then kind of it emerges that it's possible to have conflicts around that stuff. Like the government might set up some crazy rules that you don't agree with at all, and then the company kind of tries to nudge them into a different direction, and then there could be multiple governments that have different frame conditions kind of for the companies to set up their stuff, and they might prefer to go over there because they have better frame conditions than the other guys. And that's kind of the form of conflict that we want, like seeing the economies develop differently in different areas, and everyone kind of having their own style of governing and setting up stuff, and affecting players, because that's the big part of the new infrastructure, is that you're affecting more players than just those on the planet, and they can kind of isolate from everyone else. But now you might have some huge universal infrastructure project, and that has impact on people around it, and then you kind of get into conflicts more or less naturally, and that's the kind of thing we're looking into.
And I also just wanted to jump in, like, because I saw a few comments about like PvP conflict stuff, and that's not planned. And one of the things that I was doing like research and surveys, like, what is your favorite thing about Prosperous Universe? Like, overwhelmingly a response was, there's no PvP in this game. So yeah, like, we know that that's not a wish of pretty much, well, I don't know, I won't say anyone, but the majority doesn't wish for that, and so we're not really pursuing that either.
Have you been watching chat? Is there any questions that have been fielded that might be interesting?
Yeah, I was trying to weave them in, but none of them exactly relate. Let's see. What can we ask? Let's see. I think Mulpy might have answered this question at some point, but someone was asking like kind of a developer kind of question. What technology stack is Prune built on? Is that something that you want to go into?
For sure.
Yeah.
So the server is built with Java. We're using the that's quite a context switch from game design to technical.
Yeah, sorry, I failed at this segue completely. Sorry.
Okay, but maybe I'm happy now. Okay, we're using actors in the backend, and with a clustered backend. So, for example, every company, every user, every commodity exchange is an actor and can live in that cluster. And depending on the load, it's moved from one node to another. And for the persistence, we're using an event-based backend. That means that every action that happens in the game writes an event to the database. And so an actor, it really is just a stream of events. And we have a small, around the cluster, there's a small shell of nodes that basically are handling the player connections and forwards them to the cluster. And on the client side, we are having a React application with a Redux state, using 3JS for the graphics and all kinds of frameworks. I mean, it's JavaScript, it's like many frameworks for all kinds of things. But that's really a question for Martin. I think he wants to do a live stream just about all those technical stuff and how it works.
I'm sure he does. It sounds like something he would love to talk about for many hours.
Yeah.
Let's see. Someone asked about Minaj, about the mobile version and visual overhaul. That's still in full swing. He's hard at work on the mobile version. We talk pretty often about like different things that we can do to enhance the website as well. So yeah, he's not like with us right now in Germany, so that's why he's not on this stream. So just to let everyone know that. Let's see. There's some question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, me.
The stream wants to know about market makers.
Yeah. We probably should ask to.
I can ask a question about that.
Okay, maybe I will answer.
Okay, sure. I'm very opinionated when it comes to market makers, but I'm not going to spread my opinion here. I'm very curious as to your opinions, actually, and what you are thinking about in terms of what is the current situation with market makers as we have now, and what will their role be in the future, given all the changes that are coming?
Yeah, so in my opinion, market makers are essential and very necessary to bootstrap the economy when the server starts or the universe starts, because they provide like price levels for certain commodities. So they're very important. And right now they have like the double role of being our central banking system. So they introduce money to the system, and this has never been intended by us. It just happens to be that way. And in the long run, we have to think about a better way to introducing money to the game, obviously. Now we have removed the electronics market makers, so the big faucets of money are gone. So we're going to run into that problem very soon, especially right now as we see that the economy grows relatively fast and we have lots of new players. So at one point, the economy will grow faster than new players bring new money in with the starting money. And at that point, we have to find a new way. Or maybe as a stopgap, so to speak, introduce new market makers where we see fit. In the past, we have talked many times about introducing market makers that are more flexible. For example, they only have a certain amount of stock available or money available. And the problem with all these solutions is that they are very gameable. So someone will find out how they work, when they will post new offers and stuff like that. And that's just not fair. Right now, they're basic, they're simple, they're stupid, but they're kind of fair in the sense that everyone has access to them. And the last universe showed that most market makers, like at a certain point, they are not that important anymore. Sure, the high-value electronics market maker have been very important all the time, but like for basic commodities, they're just not used anymore, because players can offer at the same level, or there's enough bids and asks, so they can become irrelevant. And yeah, personally, I would love to see them gone, but right now, we just have to have them. For example, one of the side effects of the market makers that I really don't like is that all the currency spaces, I don't know the correct English term, all the different currencies are basically the same. They're like the one-to-one. And that's obviously coming from the market makers that provide the same commodities at the same prices.
Yeah, Fabian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we were just discussing this today, actually, that it's also it's a difficult balancing issue, because the market makers are the same everywhere, and they shouldn't be. Like, in reality, this wouldn't be the case. Like, you have different areas of the universe where some stuff is more abundant or more rare than in other parts. And even if we look at a freshly reset universe, we go into it with the same market maker balancings that we had before. But actually, in a new universe, they might be completely different, because there's just the layout is different. There's some resources are easier to access, some are further away, and this all has an effect. So yeah, I mean, where we go in the long term is a different question, but maybe we should even in the nearer future move to a little bit of a more dynamic system where they are not like just one price forever, but have kind of like a target amount they want to buy or sell, and then the price fluctuates a bit from there. So we at least get the obvious issues out of the way in terms of that they don't really fit the universe as it stands.
Nick, do you got any opinions
On what was market makers?
Yeah, so the current state, maybe future state.
Yeah, that's not really my area of expertise. I know that people really have strong opinions about them, and I just sort of like excuse myself from that conversation because I'm not the game designer. So,
if you want, I can show some graphs about the money supply and market makers.
I'm sure.
If I can make it work in here.
While you're figuring it out, Saginaki asked about our trailer with medical supplies is running short and the calm virus being introduced. That was sort of our idea of how to make. Sorry, I'm also clicking things. Sort of kind of how to convey what Prosperous Universe would be like to a new player. Like you kind of have these sort of moral decisions, gray area kind of things that you can do within the game. Do you want to be kind of like a tyrant and just make as much profit as you possibly can, or do you want to sort of like integrate yourself into the community and have them respect you and like you and sort of form relationships and with friends and sort of become a more benevolent sort of corporation or governor or whatever. So that was kind of the case. I don't know if there's actually going to be a virus ever in the game, but I guess it's possible.
Can you guys see the graphs, or did I just screw up the layout?
I think we can see it. I can see it, and it looks good on the stream.
Okay. Yeah. So the top two graphs are about the money supply, and the time scale is 28 days. So basically from the get-go of the universe, very beginning. And on the very left, you can see the inrush of new players. We wrote an email to all our player accounts we collected over the years. And that's kind of what you see here. Lots of players trying it out, joining, and then the Great Purge comes into play. And all the players that just had a look at the game but decided not to play got deleted, and that left us with a baseline around here. And actually, I think the spike in here, the new rush of players, I think that's
Kibitz.
I'm Kibitz video, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And that's the total money supply of all the four currencies summed up. And on the right-hand side, you can see the money supply per company. And I just take the money supply from the left and divide it by active companies. And active company in that context means a company that has been active in the last 3 days or so. And that's what I learned from this graph is, especially in the beginning of the universe, is how much money is lost due to it going into a market maker and effectively leaving the universe. And if those graphs become too low, we will, the universe as a whole will become stuck because there's no liquidity in the universe anymore. And you can imagine that I was kind of, the downward trends didn't really sit well with me. It was kind of scary seeing it going down, and around this time here, it's stabilized, and new players coming in, bringing money in, but also players selling to market makers, getting money. The production ramped up, and yeah.
It's fascinating how much of an effect that new player surge had last weekend, or this past weekend.
Yeah. I think it was one of the largest ones, comparable to the one of PC Gamer. And here's the same for market maker balance. This is just all market makers combined by currency. And right now they're all positive because they lots of players buy, for example, prefabs, so they're giving the market maker money, and so the money they have gets larger and larger. But you can, for example, if we look at the market maker for Castillo Ito, down here you can see the largest portion actually is mineral construction granular, which makes sense. It's needed to to build all kinds of buildings, all of them basically. So this has been bought the most for Castillo Ito, for example. And negative numbers in here mean that people actually sold to the market maker. So market maker had to pay money, so that money went back into the game.
I have a question for you, Rain. So you like spreadsheets and graphs, right?
I love them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So someone asked, I should have put down their name. I think it's Saganaki. He asked, how many hours on spreadsheets have you spent dedicated to this game?
I would say below average compared to the normal amount that people who play this game spend spreadsheeting. I feel like I'm a little bit less spreadsheety, so I'd say 150 hours, give or take.
Still a lot of hours on spreadsheets for Prosperous Universe.
I have learned a lot about Google Sheets and data while playing this game. It's been a tremendous learning experience.
Mm-hmm. So our hashtag should be get smart instead of get good or get smart. Miki, did you also have a question for Rain about his spreadsheets? Sorry.
No, I'm just impressed by the spreadsheets.
Okay.
I mean, the base planner is just great. So I'm actually using it myself. And yeah, it's really, really good. And what I think you probably agree that using the data from View is made a huge difference in the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really good. I am looking forward to the point where we can provide an API access. And I mean, right now we're just learning. I'm really impressed by the effort of View and the sheets you did. And we're learning, seeing how we would create our own API, and what's necessary, what's important. So this is really good. And to be honest, I really like the fact that we found a way where players don't actively have to send requests to the server to create that kind of data, and the whole passive way to collect the data sits well with us. That's
Yeah, it's always nice when you can make sure it doesn't take down the servers. And it's also double as nice when you can leverage multiple people who are working together to get that data. I remember the initial spreadsheets I made that was maybe analyzing some of the universe map. I had to click on every single planet in the universe, one by one, and make sure what is the resource concentration of this. But with those new tools, an army of people can do it in just an hour, as evidence of this current reset and what happened.
Yeah, I think in the last universe it took a week or so for the Illuminate people to scan the whole universe, and this time it was on the first day. Okay, I haven't really looked into the chat. Are there any interesting questions left?
Let me see.
I think there were a lot of great comments about you, specifically your hair.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah, that's a
symbol.
I have to see a hairdresser. It's my Corona style right now. It's very long.
Someone asked if, we're going back to this whole com virus thing, but any plans or thoughts about some scripted events that could be implemented in the game, such as like what I mentioned, the calm virus, like a breakout of a virus on a planet, things like that.
I don't think so. We're probably not going to see that. What we want to do is more provide a sandbox right now and provide tools for interesting gameplay, not so much dictating what the universe is going to do or what's happening inside of the universe. Since we're just a handful of people, and that's something we cannot realistically do. We can only provide the tools. We cannot provide that amount of content, or at least not on that level.
The goal is to create a system where interesting stuff emerges from the player's actions, basically, and where we don't have to sit and do like seasonal events or whatever, infuse new content into the game constantly. It's, just supposed to work on its own, basically.
Instead, what we could do is, for example, create a news ticker tile or command that would have all kinds of relevant information. For example, Corporation X has been founded or disbanded, or that infrastructure has been built here and stuff like that. So players know what's going on in the region or in the universe. That's a tool that we can provide.
GameStop stock going up and down.
Yeah.
Someone asked, sorry, I keep, I'm copy and pasting the questions, so I think this one's Ruby Kate, sorry, I still have it highlighted. So let's see, he says, now that shipbuilding and early access reset is over, what's the next big area the devs will focus on? Is that something we want to talk about, or is it still super secret?
Sorry, I didn't get that quite.
Sorry, I'll repeat the question. Now that shipbuilding and early access reset is over, what's the next big area the devs will focus on?
As we said before, that's the new player experience is first, and then we are going to look into politics and infrastructures.
Right.
And beyond that, we'll see.
Yeah.
So there's one question, will the API be read-only, or also planning to allow actions to be made through the API? I'd say it will be read-only in the beginning, for sure. Yeah, maybe, we'll see. That's so far in the future. Now Martin is also working on the mobile project, and we'll have to see how that works. What will be in there, if the game can be played as in its entirety, or if we can only make certain aspects available in the beginning. And that's kind of like a companion, if it's more of a companion app, or if it allows to play the game as a whole. Yeah. All right.
Any other thoughts, Nick?
Let's see. I think we kind of covered, I had a lot of questions pasted, but we covered a lot of them already, so I don't want to go back to them. Are there any, we've been streaming for over an hour now, so any final questions? And if not, we'll wrap it up.
Jesse Frazier asked about what were the bad game design decisions that we've had in the past. Bad.
like the ones that I mentioned before, that almost all of the planetary infrastructure has to be, or was supposed to be built and kept after, is that a verb? And the upkeep provided by the whole population of the planet, but that didn't work out very well. So that was maybe a bad decision. All right.
This is I think, an interesting question. We'll see where to go. Oh, everyone's typing fast. What game other than Prosperous Universe and Factorio do you guys play a lot, like most hours?
Me?
Yeah, we'll all share.
Okay. I mostly play Borderlands 2 right now. I don't play that much. Really, I would like to play more, but usually it's Borderlands, and if I have the time to play a lot, then I usually play with my friends and we play really old shooter games, like Quake 3, Quake 1, Unreal Tournament 2004, stuff like that. Like, that's something I can forget the world around me and just having an hour or 2 or 3 of fun. That's the right thing I need in that moment.
So I actually looked into my Steam library and the games last year that I played most were Monster Train and Spelunky 2. So more roguelikes, more losing is fun. That's the overlap, I guess.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I'm like a super mainstream gamer, so very non-Prosperous Universe-like games, I would say. But I played like a lot of Hades on my Switch pretty recently, and I finished the Final Fantasy VII Remake just like last weekend, so yeah. That's me.
And I know it wasn't intended for me, but believe it or not, beyond Factorio, which is my main game, Civilization, surprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the odd one is PlanetSide 2.
Okay.
I like the teamwork and the single universe aspect.
Let's maybe take one more question and then I think we'll wrap it up. Okay, well, I don't know if we're gonna get another question. It's been a little bit of a pause. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up. It's been, I think, our best stream yet. I really like the flow, like this like new format that we've kind of like tried out with basically Rain kind of taking over. It was really good. Thanks for joining us, Rain. It was really fun having you on. We enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, thanks for everyone that joined in. Thanks for supporting us and being fans of the game. We really appreciate your help. We wouldn't be here without you. So keep being great, and we'll all see you in Apex.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.